Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Collected Hutch Owen Volume 1 by Tom Hart. This is a 2000 collection from Top Shelf, collecting all of the Hutch Owen stories, going way back to the first one, Hutch Owen's Working Hard from 1994. I wanted to show that off, even though this is reprinted almost in its entirety, except for the cover and the back matter. This is reprinted as the first chapter, if you will, of the book. I don't want to get rid of it, because I really loved this comic when it came out. You know, a lot of indie comics / mini comics at the time, I don't know, they were a little, they weren't that deep. It was just, you know, guys, hey, I'm making a comic. Here's some ideas I have. But this was like a 50-page mini graphic novel almost. And just really funny, really incisive, kind of critique of capitalism, but funny as hell. And I remember when this came out, people were talking about it. It was just like, whoa, this is something. This isn't just your average indie comic, you know? And so I don't know why, sentimental reasons, I can't get rid of this. There's a picture of Tom Hart there. I can't get rid of this first printing here. But here's the Collected Hutch Owen, which has a lot more stuff. And as you can see, Tom Hart has a very unique style that is pretty slapdash looking. We got the title page here, and an introduction by Dylan Horrocks, the great New Zealand cartoonist. So we start off with a reprint of Hutch Owen's Working Hard, the very first story. We start off in the boardroom of Werner Products, and we meet the CEO and owner, Dennis Werner. And he's talking about how kids are into this Malcolm X shit. Remember, this is 1994. He's like, we're going to sell t-shirts, we're going to sell hats, we're even going to sell these, what do you call them, do-rags. And just showing how no matter how radical something is or underground, corporate America will monetize it and sell it back to us and sanitize it. We find out pretty quickly, even though Dennis Werner is the typical, you know, evil, greedy CEO, he's also pretty hilarious. He's like this weird, he's kind of a bizarro guy. And his board, and all the members of his board are too. They're kind of goofy weirdos. And these boardroom scenes are some of the funniest, I think, in the comic. Now we cut away to a junkyard. We see this little kid, Willie, digging through the garbage. Hutch Owens, sorry, I keep calling him Hutch Owens. It's Hutch Owen. Hutch Owen shows up, and he's like, good work, digging through garbage. It's a good thing. And this little kid seems like they kind of hit it off immediately. This kid's just a sweet little kid, very imaginative, almost like very simpatico with Hutch. You know, he's because Hutch definitely has this childlike quality where he's remained a child. And Willie informs Hutch that he's looking for wood so we can build a hideout. And Hutch talks about, yeah, hideouts are great. I used to make hideouts when I was younger. So these guys definitely bond. Hutch sees one of those Malcolm X billboards. Wear Malcolm X every day. And he gets up on the scaffolding and pees on it. A cop shows up, chases Hutch off. Hutch escapes onto this tugboat. And the cop tells Willie not to dig through the trash. Back at the boardroom, they're, it's like the kind of absurd shit. It's almost surreal. Like, one of the board members brings up how, sir, our recent reports show that commoners are mispronouncing euros again, or gyros, however you pronounce it. And so Werner comes up with this whole ad campaign. They're gonna get to get people to pronounce gyros right. It's just so weird. No corporation would care. It's just, that's the kind of weird humor in here. One of the board members brings up how, yeah, we're bringing out a new line of slacker gear, and also hippie freak and rebel scum, all 3 different fashion lines to exploit the market. But the main topic of discussion is there's going to be this big parade, and there's going to be a big PR thing for Warner Products. They've made a party blimp, and they need a place to park it. Like a place to moor it, or whatever you call that. And one of the board members says, oh, we found the perfect spot. It's in Northfield Forest, which is near the city. And then during the parade, we'll fly it in. We also get some letters from their customers, their consumers. This guy's saying, your latest Gratuitator 2 movie, I felt cheated. There wasn't nearly enough gratuitous violence and carnage. You claimed there was twice as much as the first one, but there was only 1/3 as much. It's just like very silly, funny stuff. I can't read the whole thing to you, but it's good satire. Tom Hart definitely seems to know the culture enough to satirize it properly, and was pretty funny. Meanwhile, we see Hutch is on one of those window cleaner scaffolds. He's making his way up to the boardroom window, and he paints Dennis poops outside on it. Everyone turns around and sees Hutch. Hutch is like, ah! And he scooches down and runs away, laughing the whole time. So Hutch is just like this imp, this just carefree. We've already figured out, like he's Willie, I forgot to mention this, Willie recognized him. He has this like minor celebrity as a rebel outsider, basically anti-capitalist gadfly. And he just lives this life of like, outside the grid, and, he's a rebel. So now we cut away to the supermarket. Little Willie has a cup, and he's trying to get donations so he can buy hammers and nails to make his hideout. Around the corner, Hutch is trying to get money selling his little poetry pamphlets. He makes these little tracts and stuff and screeds, anti-capitalist screeds. Hutch rounds the corner and sees Willie, and he shows off his books, his little pamphlets to Willie. Fuck the free market, Klutz Book of Common Decency. And just this dialogue between Willie and Hutch is just very charming. I love this relationship. I could read 20 comics about these guys. Just, this cute little kid who's just like so full of life and innocence, and Hutch, whatever the fuck he is kind of a weirdo. So Willie says, hey, you want to see my hideout that I've got so far? And so they go into the woods. They go into the Northfield Forest. Meanwhile, Dennis Werner is flying an airplane, I guess, scouting out the location. And he's like rapping. He's such a weirdo. He's a funny guy. So Willie shows the hideout. There's so many 90s references in this. Willie asks Hutch, do you like ska? I like ska. So we find out that Willie is really building this fort because he has a crush on this girl named Annie. And Hutch is totally thrilled. He's like, oh, tell me about this Annie. And he starts giving him advice. Pretty weird advice. Because, this first bit of advice is be yourself, But then the second one is masturbate all the time. That semen fucks with your head. Get it out of your system, especially before you talk to her. And the way he talks about Annie is just so sweet. This kid is just like, I love this kid. He reads a poem to Hutch that he wrote about Annie. I'm going to read this. This is so weird. Annie, if your freckles were landmines, the tongue of my dreams would be blown apart long ago. If they were flags, I've planted them with my grins, falling to the floor. If they were buttons, I'd unbutton your face over and over again. They'd hum softly to themselves, like I do when I am happy in the world. If I received a poem like that, I'd be like, this person's a stalker. This is disturbing. But it's also kind of sweet. He then says, let me stare and be the cartographer of their rolling landscape. That's not bad. So Hutch is loving this kid. Hutch is like, oh man, this kid's like a chip off the old block. So Hutch notices there's some lumber just unguarded behind the trees. He says, let's just take it. We'll build your fort. So they build this pretty nice fort. And then a bulldozer shows up from Warner Products. And they're like, hey, that's private property. We got to tear this down. This is where the blimp parking is going to be. A hangar. And Hutch basically talks him down. He says, guys, this is a kid's fort, really? You're going to knock over a kid's fort. And they're just like, oh, well, we'll be back. We got to find out what to do. Now we see the boardroom again. Now they're talking about how reggae is hot and they're going to exploit it. The tagline is, Jaw gotta have it. It says all kinds of funny, weird shit. Very 90s. Prank calls are big. Like the Jerky Boys, you know, so they're talking about putting out that stuff. But then one of the board members informs Werner that we're having a problem with that hangar, the blimp hangar. We can't build it there. And he's like, what are you talking about? Fucking bulldoze that thing down. And they're like, so these guys, everyone in Tom Hart's comics, nobody's that evil. Tom Hart, I think, is a happy-go-lucky guy. Like, look at that guy. He looks like a real sweetie. So nobody's that bad. So even these, greedy higher-ups, they're like, but sir, it's a kid's hideout. You really want us to knock it down? You really want to do that? And Werner's like, hell yeah, I do. And he knows that Hutch is behind this. So we realize, too, through all this dialogue, that they have a deep animosity. They've got a history, Hutch and Werner. And Hutch is always trying to fuck with Werner, and Werner's always trying to crush Hutch Owen. So meanwhile, Hutch is showing Willie his, hideout. He has a little shack in the forest. No electricity, his typewriter, his books, lots of books, even though he's got no electricity. Because, that's what Hutch cares about. He's anti-consumerism and just more of this great dialogue of these guys just bonding. And seems like they're already great friends. The kid talks about those aptitude tests you take in school, and Hutch said that the guidance counselor said he tested for superhero. That's what he was suited for. Hutch kind of lays out his philosophy. It's interesting, though, how, Hutch says that work is this great thing. Man needs to work. Humans need to work. But not working some shitty, soulless bullshit job. He's not like this lazy ne'er-do-well. He works really hard at his writing. He thinks that's a valid. He also tells Willie that he plans to disrupt the parade and rain on Werner's parade. So we see the parade, and everyone in the crowd is just a total what Hutch Owen hates. Every single person has a stupid t-shirt with some logo on it, probably they overpaid for from Warner Products. They're all doing that hoo from remember in the 90s? I can't remember the name of that talk show. That was a thing to do. It just was a very dumb American thing. And all these people are just mindless consumers. They're thrilled that there's all this crap around. And Lots of little asides showing the local newscast of it, just how bad news is now. This commercial. Dude, do you remember punk rock? Dude, this is one kick-ass, cutting-edge, hardcore, in-your-face, red-hot, chilly-out, motherfucking punk rock car. And the car's just called Punk Car. Get angry for it. That was actually a real commercial. There was, in the 90s, there was a commercial that actually started with that line. Do you remember punk rock? Then going on to say that this car kind of has that ethos. It was such bullshit. And Tom Hart calls it out pretty good. We see all these chuckleheads hooting. Meanwhile, the corporate lackeys are on the lookout for Hutch. They know Hutch is going to disrupt things. Werner comes out to, address the crowd. And he's just saying all these catchphrases and slogans, and everyone's loving it. He's got these giant TV screens. And then Hutch hacks the cable for the TVs. And with this little puppet, a Werner puppet, he tells the crowd, "Why are you so fucking stupid?" And everyone just laughs. They think it's funny or like edgy, I guess. He's like, "No, really, listen. Quit your crappy jobs. Have some self-respect." And they just keep laughing. They're just like, "Oh, this is crazy." He's like, "No, really, guys, stop buying stupid stuff." It totally, nothing hits. The crowd doesn't give a shit or care. So then the corporate guys, the lackeys, find Hutch where he's hiding, and they chase him. Hutch, once again, I just want to mention his art. Like, look at these pages. Look like they took 15 minutes to draw, right? They look like something from someone's sketchbook. But I love this art, especially for humor. Like these slapstick scenes of him running around, getting chased. And you could almost picture yakety sax in the background. And they're just so fun and lively. I love his style. Even though I recognize that, yeah, this is like, this isn't great art, He's not the best artist in the world, but I almost suspect that if he drew realistically with how well he captures shit in this very loose fashion, I think he's got some, classic underpinnings where if he drew realistically, I bet it wouldn't be bad. It seems like he's like dumbing down his art, if you will. Even though this is his style, this is what he's chose to draw, and I like it. So Hutch sneaks into the blimp, runs into the party blimp, and takes flight. Werner grabs the rope dangling from the blimp. It seems like all blimps have to have a rope so somebody can grab it at the last minute and be swept away. He's just yelling at Owen, you freak. So the blimp makes it to Northfield Forest. And we see, I believe this is Willie's hideout. He crash lands the thing. And he says, "Willie," and Willie's there. He says, "Willie, grab a stick. There's going to be a showdown." Willie just says, "Hey, Hutch, look who's here." And it's Annie. I just love it. Just how cute their little relationship is, Their puppy love. And then Werner gets into a bulldozer. And he's going to bulldoze the hideout. And Hutch tries to appeal to him. He says, "Dennis, what are you doing? It's a kid's hideout, for Christ's sake. Do you remember hideouts, Dennis? Do you remember a house this big? Do you remember, Dennis?" And we see a flashback. And it looks like this idyllic childhood setting, this beautiful, almost fantasy forest. And it's young Hutch and Dennis Werner. They were best friends. Which, just finding this out makes so much of this comic have more resonance to me. It makes me love it twice as much. And of course, Dennis wasn't a greedy jerk then. He's a cute kid. He was pretty well off. His parents were rich. And just the dialogue between them, they're just talking about silly things like, "Oh, if I was rich, I'd buy a monster maker and a lightsaber in a hall of justice." And they're reading each other their haikus that they wrote. Dennis's haiku says, "Sitting on the porch, the bad ugly dog, making big doo-doo." And they all, of course, crack up. Because when you're that age, that's probably hilarious. So then Dennis says, hey, Hutch, want to see my hideout? So he's got a nice little tree fort his parents built him. Here, Hutch says, I'm going to be a superhero when I grow up. But Dennis wants to be a zookeeper. And he says, yep, and I'd live in a house only this big. Then all the animals would have all the space to run around in. And he says, where would you poop? And he says, outside. What he painted on the window earlier. And it's just, I love these scenes. This is great. Finding out that they were best friends. And then Dennis grew up to be, Werner product CEO. And Hutch grew up to be full-time rebel. So Werner is intent on knocking that thing down, the hideout. And Hutch is standing in the way, trying to stop him. And Werner just doesn't care. And it looks like he kills Hutch. Just mows him down while the kid's watching horror. Just all these panels are. He just won't stop. He's in some kind of loop. And then the camera pulls back. Now we see planet Earth. We're looking at Earth from space. You can still hear the roar of the bulldozer. And now we see epilogue. And now we zoom back in. We see Werner. He's an old man. So obviously times have changed. Outside the building, the kids are painting "fuck the corporations" on the walls. So it does seem like maybe Hutch had an influence on the future. And the board meeting begins. And Werner says, okay, guys, put on your VR goggles. This is the new thing that's going to make us $1 million. And we see Hutch in this VR relive the rebellion, relive the fury. In Werner Vision's new virtual reality program, you are Hutch Owen, dissenting your way through the corrupt city, stepping on corporate toes, building hideouts, exposing the truth. And they're all like, ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna sell like a motherfucker. And they all laugh gleefully. And we pull out once again, and their laughter can be seen from space or heard. Oh man, that ending is fucking powerful. So I think he did kill Hutch. And years later, maybe he had some regret about it, but he still doesn't stop him from monetizing and exploiting just the ultimate rebel who would hate this more than anything. Great stuff. Now you can probably understand why this caused such a furor in 1994. Just this little self-published comic. 53 pages, that's how long it is. So that's a meaty comic book for a first-time comic. Well, it wasn't his first comic, but it was his first non-bidding comic, Next, we have Emerging Markets. Now, guys, we just read this a few months ago. It was included in the great anthology Mona from Kitchen Sink Press. So I'll kind of go over this pretty quick. But basically, more of the boardroom antics, more funny stuff. They're talking about their new soda splurge and showing off weird commercials. They're trying to get the third world market, basically. And they have all these pretty funny plans of like how they're gonna appeal to this foreign market. And meanwhile, Hutch is in that country, which I'll find in a second. I can't remember the name of it. It's a make-believe country. And he's befriended this local. This is a great one. Just all these scenes in the boardroom, I swear to God, are just funny as hell. It's a really good satire. Hutch's friend takes him home to meet his parents. It's called Boynesia. So even though they have lots of traditional nativist ways, they also are Catholics. So this confuses Hutch a little. So Werner flies to this country. He has this little slacker consultant, the nephew of one of his board members who like is, he's hip to the jive. So he brings him along to be like, what do you think about this? And I'll just show off the art. If you want to hear about the story more in full, check out the Mona video, Mona #1. It's really good. This is a good story, funny as hell, and once again very telling and very socially conscious. Another pretty long story. "35 pages. Okay, next, stocks are surging. We see Hutch burning down the stock market company corporate headquarters. But it's really just a dream. So things are like, it's the late 90s now. Stocks were surging. There was the internet bubble. And it's almost as if these like high on the hog times are not good for Hutch. People are so interested in what they can buy, what's on the internet, that they don't want to hear some rebel tell them about how capitalism is fucked. So Hutch is now living under a bridge for the most part. It doesn't look like Hutch is doing too well. And in the introduction, Dylan Horrocks mentions that, he knows Tom Hart. And Tom Hart kind of says, well, yeah, partially it's I grew up and I realized things are more nuanced. And sometimes these guys, it's not like they end up all happy. Like Hutch doesn't seem that happy in this. He's got this one friend, Oswald, who's a total 90s guy. He's on the computer every fucking second, just looking up all these sites. And Hutch is complaining to him. He's like, I live under a fucking bridge. All my books and things are moldy. And he's like, I can't deny it. I need money. So Oswald says there's this place. It's like this cush job at the stock market building. Basically, they pay you for just sitting around. They just need warm bodies. It's a scam. My friend did it. It's amazing. We also find out he doesn't have to work. He's a trust fund kid. I gotta say, I know this is so nebulous because the art is so sparse, but it doesn't look as good as the first one. Like, it's the same simple style, but something's a little off in these last two stories, which we're going to look at. And it's still pretty nice. I still kind of like his style, but I don't know what it is, guys. If you're a fan of these Hutch Owen stories, let me know if you agree, because it's so barely discernible. But that first comic, the art is just really, like, I think perfect cartooning. Just simple, fun stuff. And this doesn't seem as good. And I can't put my finger on it. It's not like, oh, he's not drawing as well, or, most artists you can tell, like, oh, they're hacking it out, or, they're being lazy, But I don't know why. I guess his art style just changed. So we do see that Hutch, I guess he still kind of wants to be the rebel, but he's kind of done. He's like, fuck. And he's even saying how, man, I want internet access. Like, he wants the consumer goods now. He's tired of being a bum/rebel. So he gets the job. And of course, it's kind of horrifying for him. They station him in a cubicle. It's the worst kind of bullshit corporate job. So I guess, like, I don't know why, but it seems like he has some responsibility to, like, post the NASDAQ stock market listings. And But the main thing he finds out during his job is that all of his coworkers are just people he's always hated. All they care about is like buying things, how much money they can make, and fucking. And they're all just like whore dogs. Basically, they're like frat boys, you know? So he gets sent on his first mission. He's got to pick up a bunch of floppy disks downtown. He gets there, there's this guy, Sammy. He's a computer genius. And they start talking. And Sammy kind of admits that, like, oh yeah, I could totally bring that place down. I built their security system. Every now and then I play little games and screw up their computer screens a little. And Hutch is very intrigued by this information. Because Hutch is fuming about how he wishes he could sabotage the whole operation. He just hates the whole system. But he just goes back to his job. And we just see lots of panels of his co-workers just being very insipid and lame. He sees Oswald in this bookstore. And it's weird that he's friends with Oswald, because Oswald is exactly like those people. All he thinks about is like what fancy new antique book he can buy, and, you know, surfing the internet, even though he claims that he's a rebel too. So Hutch starts putting up fake NASDAQ postings just to fuck with everyone, just making shit up. And it does cause a little huzzeride, because people are like, what? I can't believe those numbers. That's down 50%. But still, mainly they talk about bullshit. Like checking out coworkers and how they want to bang them and stuff. How their portfolio is getting better. So Hutch goes back to Sammy's. He's got another delivery. And he's just fuming once again. Sammy informs him that, yeah, these guys, these buffoons in power, the real truth is that they need nerds like me. We parcel out the power. They couldn't do it without us. We'll always be one step ahead of them. Sammy says, you should join us. Be unoppressed for a while. Hutch can't even admit he's oppressed. He's like, I'm not oppressed. I was like, yeah, you are. So Hutch continues his false reporting, hoping that it'll screw everything up. He's somehow convinced to go to the bar after work. Everyone likes to go to the bar, you know, all these yuppies, and get loaded and try to hook up with some woman, talk about sports and stupid shit. And he's just totally disgusted. The boss is there. His boss, he says, I know what you're doing. You're confusing everyone. You got half the floor out of their minds. But then he says, you're smart and you piss people off. That's good. You're kind of a culture jammer. We can use people like you. And basically he offers him this great job. Like, yeah, we're going to fire that guy sitting over there. We want you to do his job. You'll make $50,000 a year to start. And Hutch just loses it. He can't do it anymore. He's just like, fuck you. Fuck you and your casual Friday. Fuck George Bush. He storms out of the bar. He goes to Oswald's, and Oswald leaves a note. He says, meet me at this antique show. And even though Hutch is telling him all this shit, Oswald doesn't give a shit. He's just talking about these antiques he wants to buy. And Hutch finally realizes, yeah, my friend Oswald's full of shit too. So he runs out. And he runs to Sammy's place. And he's desperate. He says, Sammy, teach me. I want to be like you. I want to learn to Control, Alt, Delete. And I want to bring them all down. And then it's very curious. Sammy says, he kind of backtracks. He says, well, you know, we can't exactly destroy him. I might have been speaking a little too glibly earlier. We can open up a couple of holes. He says, let's do it. Let's fuck one thing up, whatever we can do. And Sammy says, Actually, I already did it. Better get yourself out of here. I'm going south. So on the news the next day, there was a hiccup in the Boston stock market. But apparently, the Dow still finished 300 points higher at the end of the day. It was just a hiccup. So whatever Sammy did, it was pretty ineffectual. And we see Hutch on a bus, probably heading south, just like Sam advised him. Sammy. And that's the end. Next, we have the road to self. And this is definitely later on showing, like, definitely Tom Hart's changed his views. And this is I really like this story. It's really, Hutch is very multi-dimensional in this. Just a real character. He's not the first story, he's almost like this cartoon character, like, he's like the gingerbread man, flitting around, people chasing him. He's always ending up with a smile on his face. So at this point, Hutch is living in the subway tunnels. His two best friends are these two rats, and he pretends that they're talking to each other. So we really see that Hutch he's degenerating. It's it's all fun and games to be a romantic idealist when you're 20. And a lot of those guys don't end up well. So we see this woman talking on her cell phone, talking about going to the antique store and all the things she's going to buy, and, the type of shit that Hutch hates. And somehow Hutch hears this all the way in the subway tunnel, and he comes out because he recognizes the voice. And he says, oh my God, it's Lala Tree. That's her name. It's kind of a weird name. And he has a flashback. She was his girlfriend for one semester in community college. And she was a little punky girl with piercings. And they were totally in love and totally great friends. So he makes this face at Lala Tree. She's still on the phone. And she just says, Hutch, God, you look like shit. And Hutch is like, I look the same. What's up with your getup, your cell phone, and your commuter mug? She's like, I got a good job now. I'm an editor at a magazine. Self Magazine, which is a real magazine. And he's like, ooh, that sounds interesting. Know thyself, Plato. She's like, actually, that's Socrates. But it's not exactly like that. If you guys know Self Magazine, it's just like how to lose weight for summer beach wear. It's very, like, just shallow stuff. Hutch finds out that she has a fiance named Dirk. And she asks about his pet rat here. He says, yeah, this is Sonia. She's an heiress. It seems like Lala Tree has a pretty good sense of humor just to put up with his craziness. She definitely, you can already tell she seems to have this, like, latent affection for him. He says, what happened to you? She says, I joined the human race. He says, the mainstream is not the human race. And then he follows her onto the subway while he's basically stalking her. And then he has more flashbacks, and we see him and Lala Tree putting up posters on telephone poles, listening to music, smoking joints. They were just two peas in a pod. And now he follows her to the antique store that she was talking about. And the owner won't let him in. So he goes to the newsstand. He says, hey, he wants to see this Self magazine for himself. And, it's Slash the Fat. What to wear for him? Is your butt too big? Yeah, one of these articles he finds, Sonia the rat brings him a page. It's, here's a good idea to lose weight. If you must eat ice cream, eat it with a serrated spoon. Cherry Garcia won't taste nearly as flavorful with a mouthful of fresh blood. It's pretty funny. And he's just full of disgust reading these articles himself. So he sees her again, and he's like, did you write this crap? And Lala Tree still seems to just be amused by him, even though he's just this ranting jerk to her. And he says, this is Self Magazine. It should be about meditation and Dreams. He's like, it's a great name for a magazine, and you guys wrecked it. I also wanted to comment, the art really seems to not be as much to my liking anymore. Yet the way he draws Lala-Tree, compared to the first two stories, I'm not digging this nearly as much art-wise. It does the job, I guess. So she actually says, why don't you come to the office? I'll show you around. You'll see, it's, you know, I work with a lot of smart people, and we try to give real information in little bits. We try to get it out there. We're not just, soulless, but, we got to sell the magazine. She says, leave your rat behind if you come by. So he goes, and we realize from him talking to his rats, man, Hutch is in a bad state. We realize that he still kind of has a crush on her. And even just says, maybe I can get her alone in a closet. And he says, maybe I can kick Dirk's ass too, the fiance. That's a good enough reason to go. We see more flashbacks of just their sweet young love. And he makes it to the offices. And, typical corporate culture. Everyone's telling stupid jokes, talking about what J-Lo was wearing last night. And he makes it to Lala-Tree's office. He reads her latest article and is pretty disgusted with it. He sees a flyer for a going away party, and she's like, yeah, you always have an eye for free food. Because it's free food. So he finally meets Dirk, the fiance. He's like, hey, you must be Hutch. Lala-Tree's told me all about you. And, by the way, he did bring the rat, and everyone notices it, of course. The boss has a word with Lala-Tree, says, your friend brought a rat to the office, and he smells bad. Get rid of him. Meanwhile, Dirk informs Hutch. He says, Lala-Tree can't stop talking about you. Hutch this and Hutch that. You're really important to her. And he said, Hutch says, you think she wants me back? And Dirk says, I'm her fiance, asshole. And he throws an orange at him. And then Hutch grabs it and puts it under his hat. And he says, give me that. And they start fighting. So Lala-Tree shows up and says, break it up, guys. Hutch, my boss wants you to leave. I'll show you the door. He said, and she lays it down. She says, stop being a jerk for a minute and listen. Do something productive. If you write something sane and readable, I might be able to get it published. I'm trying to help you out here. I still like you. And Hutch actually thinks, maybe I should do this. As he's walking away, he's talking to himself. It's kind of sad. He's just like, you look nice, Lala-Tree. It's good to see you, Lala-Tree. Saying all the things he probably just should have said instead of being a dick. So he needs inspiration for an article. So he goes up back to that newsstand and flips through some magazines. And he does. He writes an article. Hey, he shows up at that going away party. Just gobbling down all the free food he can. Everyone, of course, is talking shallow bullshit. And he's like, where's Lala-Tree? For some reason, there's a squirrel at the party. And then, I guess all the rats show up. I don't know if it's like because of Sonia. Her rat friends came along. And so, of course, everyone's like, you're the one who brought the rat to the party. Get out of here. And they kick him out. He goes up to the roof. And he vows to march into Self Magazine with his article in Rat Army. Talking about real concerns. Sonia comes up and is furious. She's like, you ruined the party with your stupid rats. And you endangered everyone's health. And then he says, Hutch says, I don't get it. You used to have so much spunk and energy. And she says something pretty telling here. She says, What don't you get, Hutch? You don't get that smart adults can grow out of mad and pissy kids? That productive adults are the ones with the craziest and most energetic youths? Real adults draw from those energies, join together and use their talents to change things slowly. She calls him a smelly pervert. And she says, I don't care about your article. To hell with you, she says, slams the door in his face. So he says, screw it, I'll go over her head. I'll charge, the publisher, the old lady who runs these magazines. And he sneaks into the office with the old pizza delivery guy thing. And, this woman basically just says, get the hell out of here. You're the guy with the rats. And she says, Dirk, you want to deal with this guy? Because Dirk's there. And he just lifts, it looks like he lifts Hutch Owen over his head and throws him, 20 stories down into this dumpster. So Hutch wakes up in the dumpster. He sees perfume samples from the magazine, and he puts them on. And Lala Tree shows up, and she says, you don't really disgust me. I'm sorry. But she does tell him, she says, stop being a jerk. She tells him, you really energized me as a kid. And now we see this flashback of them making fun of basically the people that she became. They're like sarcastically saying, oh, I need health insurance. I need gas for my car. I need Nikes for my baby. And they laugh. And I think it's her memory because she does say, yeah, those were good times, but... And she says, here's my article in the latest issue. And Hutch reads it and he says, it's good. Thanks. And that's it. Oh, man, I don't know why. This story just moves me. It's just so real. And just really sad. Good stuff, Tom Hart. And there's the back cover. So there you go, guys. Collected Hutch Owen by Tom Hart, Volume 1. I don't think there ever was a Volume 2. Maybe there is. I don't even know if he draws Hutch Owen comics anymore. I don't even know if anyone would care. But for the most part, I really like these. Especially the earlier ones when it's all about just the yucks. And not much really funny. These comics are really fun. And but also they have some good messages behind them, It's got some stuff to think about, But that last one is really just kind of a mature work, even though it's pretty dopey. But it's also wow, this is moving. This is good. Okay, I wish I had better adjectives, guys. Sorry, I suck at talking. But thumbs up, and thanks for watching. And I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.